There's nobody else in all of New York City doing what sa.neter does and Black News 102 does. Sa.neter is a master at what he does. I told y'all that value comes from the ability to solve a problem and the inability to replace it. Now, as much as I would love sa.neter to do other things, I know I don't have the ability to replace Black News 102. And neither do you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Welcome to sa.neter, sa.neter Studios. We don't get no better than us. Consciousness info. sa.neter TV 7. You keep it hot 24/7. You got that Black News 102. sa.neter TV 2. Yeah.
You are now inside sa.neter Studios.
Peace and Black Power, and as you know, this is your brother Herman Smalls. Peace and Pan-Africanism. We are here like we always try to be with the movers and shakers, with the individuals that are impacting the culture, as well as the individuals that are moving with conscience. And we have a brother that fits that bill to the max, and this is our good brother Mysonne. Our brother's an artist, he's an activist, a concerned citizen. This is a brother who wants to see us be our best, do our best, and he puts it all in to make that happen. So brother Mysonne, first of all, thank you for giving us an opportunity to interview you. There are some things in the media that you've already been on record for, but I want to see if there's been any new developments, any new adjustments in your thoughts and your insights. One, the Gucci situation concerning Dapper Dan and how you were involved with that process up until a critical stage where, in your words, you felt you were omitted from the conclusion that had folks brought to the table that weren't even part of the initial kind of movement. So if you could clear that part of it up, that whole situation from its beginning with the TI and all the movement from there, how do we get from there to here?
Pretty much, I think I explained it as best I can, man. I had a conversation with Dapper Dan prior to the meeting. He told me he was going to call me when the meeting was, told me he was going to bring me to the meeting. He wanted me to be at the table. We discussed it. He never reached back out. A couple of people have reached out to him to try to find out what was going on. And next thing you know, we just heard that the meeting was had, and that they came to these terms, and this was the agreement. So, you know,
okay.
I didn't understand that, you know, but everybody has their own reason. I don't have nothing against Dapper Dan. Just, you know, I just still have the same sentiments about Gucci. They, you know, whatever it is that they felt that they was doing to appease us, it wasn't for us. You know, it was a civil rights violation against black people.
Exactly.
And then they put out, you know, some type of program for diversity, and that impacted diversity. It didn't impact black people. I needed to directly talk to black people. So it didn't do that. You know, so it just was pretty much was an insult to injury. You know, so I still have my same stance on Dapper Dan. Like, I mean, I'm not Dapper Dan, on Gucci, excuse me. Dapper Dan is a black man, you know, and I have no ill will against him. Like I stated, I was a little disappointed with the move that he made. But other than that, you know, I wish him much success.
Okay, and I'm glad to hear that there isn't any goodwill, because even in full disclosure, most of you know who follow me, I got dual citizenship. I'm native of Harlem and a native of the South Bronx. And you know, as Dapper Dan is a walking, living, bona fide street legend.
That's right.
He put an imprint on a culture that few before him or since him have.
That's right.
And also from my personal knowledge of him as someone I've seen move through the community, he has supported folks when violence takes place in the community. I've seen him attend funerals, pay for funerals, and finance other things that are germane to us being united as a people. I wanted to ask this of you, because you're also an entrepreneur and a businessman as an artist. Is there a point where those two can interplay, meaning if there is a moral stand, like, okay, we've been insulted by this fashion industry with Gucci and them making a caricature of a fashion, but when does a business person have a right to, as me and sa.neter was discussing, get the bag, and that's their duty as capitalists, and when does they their reach for the bag is betraying a moral stand, and who gets to judge that?
I think I don't think it's really about a moral stand or about getting the bag. I think it's just being a man of your word. You know, if you have a conversation, if I never had a conversation with Dapper Dan, then and he did whatever he did, then you know, I would support it. Now I would still say I would look at it and I would be critical of the situation, but it wouldn't per se for me. I wouldn't have an opinion of what Dapper Dan did, because understanding what he's been through, you know, understanding how long he's been for the culture and how long he's done things for the culture, I would understand that. But you know, it's just like a lot of different situations. You have to make your own conscious decision where your moral compass is. When you realize that somebody's done something to you or is doing something to you, you have to figure out what compensation for that is for you. You understand what I'm saying? And for me, being a civil rights activist, on the front lines of civil rights, I know what Gucci did was a civil rights violation, and there was no civil rights compensation for that. So whatever, if somebody decides they're getting a bag, I'm not mad at you, and that's your thing. But just don't understand. You just have to understand that if your bag goes against what it is that I morally stand for or my civil rights, then you on the opposite side of that spectrum. We don't have a problem, but you just going for something that's different than what I represent. So everybody has the right to do what it is within their own moral compass. Exactly. I have to be able to sleep good at night based on decisions that I make. There's a lot of money and things that are being offered that I say, nah, I can't really do that because it doesn't coincide with who I am morally. You know what I'm saying? So if something, you see something and it fits your moral compass and you able to stand, like, if whatever Dapper Dan got in this and he's able to have a conversation and it's good, and the conversation he's able to answer the questions that people ask him about the situation, he's able to answer them comfortably, then that means he made the right decision for him. Because any decision I make, I can answer comfortably. I don't lose any sleep. I'm not stuttering when I have a conversation with you. 9 times out of 10, any person of good moral character is going to understand my position. So that's how everybody has to be able to hold themselves to their own standards.
Okay, I like to speak sometimes in analogy or use examples, and you let me know if you feel this is a fair example. It's not that lengthy, but I'm gonna lay out a few things, because as you said, this was a civil. This was, I share that opinion, this was an action and insult against a people. So if you stand up for your individual rights, but at the same time for how your people have been affected, when you are compensated, if that's a proper term, shouldn't your people be also? An analogy I want to use, I want to go back some time about another individual who stood up for their individual right, but also at the same time to say, you treat all of my people like this and we need to do better. And that was none other than Sister Rosa Parks. So is it a fair example to say if Rosa Parks took the action she did, refused to go to the back, we know the story, and we were in the middle of a hard-fought protest collectively, and the bus company approached Sister Rosa with a real lucrative kind of deal. You know what, you ain't got to walk anymore, Sister Rosa, we got $1 million for you. And for whatever reason, she felt that was acceptable. And she took that, but not in just taking that, she said, you know what, I can't say anything, and she took that part of the deal too. Never coming back to her people, never making it clear, we out walking. And then Dr. King, you used him in the same voice with Malcolm X and possibly Kaepernick as an iconic figure equal to that. Let's say they approach Dr. King, and I'm using this as possibly the Jay-Z analogy. They say, Dr. King, you're such a good speaker, you're even a good businessman, we want to give you part of the bus line. We got a bus chain that, you know, ain't been used much, and you want that over there, and you can, you know, this is how much you can make a year. And let's say Dr. King said, you know what, again, the bag, man, that's kind of good. But he said, you know what, Dr. King, y'all can't go to the front of the bus yet, but how about the middle? And, you know, give it a few years, and we'll work on this. And Dr. King said, you know what, yeah, you know, that's fair. And he came back to his people. He spoke and said, you know what, I'm going to buy into this. Is that a fair analogy, or am I, you know, painting them in a bed of Jay-Z being in a king instead of staying on his point until he broke that system?
But I don't understand how you break the system when if Rosa Parks takes that deal and she decided that she was compensated and she could no longer be the face of the original movement. If Dr. King wasn't able to go to every meeting with Rosa Parks and say, this sister right here was abused, who are we boycotting for?
Right.
You understand? So if he wasn't able to do that, if he realized she took compensated for the deal, and she felt that her pain and suffering, she had did enough in her pain and suffering, and he was just somebody that was backing her, and then they came out and said, look, pretty much she left the deal. And you know, we got her out the deal, but we do realize that we need change here.
Right.
We do realize we need change. So what we want to do is we want to put you part of the bus company, because we don't understand what y'all do. We don't understand what's going on with black people, because a bunch of white people in here, and we don't get it. So we know you get it because you've shown us. The people follow you, they listen to you, and you have a good moral conduct. You are able to push the culture forward. In every room you've been in, you've done this. Like, you haven't been in a room where you haven't spoken up and brought more of us into this room. There's not been a room yet that you haven't done that. So as us as a people, we got to say that why would this move be any different? That's what I see it as. Based on what Martin Luther King had done, if he came and said, yeah, I'm gonna go in this room, they want us, they realized they wronged us, and I sat down, told them what they need to do, and they said, okay, show us what we need to do. So that's why I'm doing this. So that would make sense, because this is our leader. He already brought us. We'd have been in 5 rooms already. He'd been in 5 rooms with us, and he did what he said he was going to do every other time. So why would we assume that this would be any different?
Okay, but
until we show something.
But the other part of that analogy is, okay, Dr. King, I know you don't want to be able to sit in the front and all that.
But nobody said.
Work with
but
the
nobody
middle.
said that. Where did they say the middle? Tell me what part of it.
Very
is the middle.
true. And I must go back. None of us know what any of the details of the agreement. But in this analogy, we don't know. Now remember,
you made an analogy based on something that you assume. I don't.
Fair enough.
Because
Fair enough.
what I'm trying to tell you is, you're talking about a billionaire who has already stated every day of his life, I'm not going back to the middle ever again. So I don't know why you think he went in that room after he already told them, fuck you, I don't need your money, you need me, and said, I'm gonna settle for the middle. Why would you think that?
I mean, okay, it's speculative, but if again with that analogy, so would King have been right to, okay, let me take part ownership and then come sell to the people? You know what? Let's not rush to the front just yet. Let's go with the middle for 10 years.
Is you keep saying the middle. I don't understand what listen to me. It's 70% of us, right, in the NFL. We own nothing in the NFL. We don't have no ownership. We don't run none of it at all. But it's 70% of black people. So we make all of the, you telling us to start our own over here, with 70% of us still going to be in the NFL. So we should not have any ownership in an organization that's overpopulated by us, built off our back, off our fucking, half of them is getting concussions, they can't move after they leave.
Very
so
true.
we got all of these things going on with all our people in there, and you saying we just going to abandon it. They still going to have 70% of us in there. And we still ain't going to own nothing, but we're going to start from land zero with nothing over here in our own. So why can't we do both? Why can't we take that, take the money from that, and then I'm in this building now, I got this, and I can fund you over here to make sure that we got our own, and then after, now I can actually bring us over here.
Okay, so doing both. Excellent point. Okay, great. We got the ownership. Jay-Z is in. He got that locked down. Now, in the both, people were insulted. People were maligned. The president of these United States called all of their mothers bees. Your sons are bees for standing up against my system that's murdering y'all. So what do the people get to compensate for that disrespect?
But then we need to sue the president. We need to the president. The NFL has something to do with the Trump.
I was just using an example.
I was trying to figure out.
I know. I was using an example as how much has been done in relation to us collectively.
We have so much things that we can talk about. What I'm talking about, we're talking about right now about the NFL. The NFL cannot compensate us for Trump.
Right.
So what we need to do is build civil rights. What people has been telling us to do for years is bring civil rights charters against America. We should have been done that.
Okay, but back to the NFL. I don't want to stick to that. So you said both. Jay-Z is in. He got a team lock. What's to compensate for the masses that were insulted by this process?
What were the masses? And tell me where the masses were insulted. Tell me what they did.
I think to collectively, I mean, for none to have ascended to that point, is that by an accident? You know, segregation has been real, live, and direct in the U.S. of A. since we've been here.
But I'm talking about the NFL. You said stick to the NFL. What has the NFL done to all of us?
Well, I think right now it's in the middle of buying, either through silver or lead, a movement. Because if that brother took that knee for the first time based on the violence we were being inflicted on nationally by a police force, that's That's not even on the table anymore. All we're talking about right now is bags and ownership. And now the masses that are still being murdered, that's still being killed, they can't even talk about it now.
What I'm trying to explain to you, they can talk about it. The bottom line is,
well, Kaepernick can't.
Because what we were boycotting against was the fact that Kaepernick lost his job. We didn't boycott the NFL for police brutality.
Okay.
We never boycotted the NFL because the NFL had nothing to do with police brutality.
But we were supporting Kaepernick.
We were supporting Kaepernick.
And he took the knee because of violence.
Exactly.
He took the knee because of violence.
So listen to me.
So we're getting behind him.
Okay, so we're getting behind him.
Right, for that cause.
Okay, so when he decided he took a check, right? What are you behind him to do at this point? He felt like he was wrong. We stood with him. He got compensated for his wrong.
Right.
Okay. So police brutality is still here.
Right.
NFL cannot stop police brutality.
Right.
What the NFL was supposed to do, and what we hoping that when Jay-Z gets in there, is supposed to allow their players to utilize their voices to talk about things that negatively affect them in their communities, especially when they are the majority in the league. That's what we want to hold the NFL to. We cannot hold the NFL to stopping police brutality. That makes no sense.
Now there's a carrot and a stick. Hold them to it. What do we use to hold them to anything?
What you do is you say, okay, what you watch how the NBA has been allowed their players to be vocal, to utilize their platform. LeBron and them talk about social issues. They do it during halftime shows. They hold different forums in cities with police and like these are things. So that motto has to trickle down to the NFL. The NFL has to be open. The NFL, Roger Goodell had to say, we openly support these things that are going on in the black communities, and we're going to put our money, we're going to allow our players to utilize their platforms to talk about that. If that's what we want to do, that's how you do it interactive. You don't stifle their voices. You don't tell them what they can talk about, because these are grown men, and as long as they're within the parameters of the rules of the game, they should be able to speak about anything that negatively affects their community or positively affects their community, because every other nationality within the NFL speaks about the things that negatively or positively affect their communities.
True. And again, I saw your build. With that in mind, the ability to be vocal, the ability to take a stand for things that are impacting your people, once that is secured, you said, okay, if Jay-Z, if all we get is a brothers to sing and dance, and then I'm gonna call him out. Exactly. These are your words. That's my words. What time frame do we give for this to develop? So 1 year is enough time.
That's enough. So there needs to be adequate, because listen to me, for you to make a decision that you're going into a deal with somebody that you know negatively impacted us, then there has to be a good faith from the beginning. Soon as this NFL opens up, we need to see some commercials. We need to see some of these players that are in there who took a knee speaking about it during halftime. Look, this is where I took a knee, and this is what is going on in our communities. We need to see police and community having affairs. I need to be doing panels to what we talking about. We bringing the police and community so we can change the diaspora, what's going on in our community. If those things are not happening, and all we do is the NFL, and you know a couple people stay in there and some kumbaya shit, and then you just got a halftime show, I'm not okay with that.
Okay. And you mentioned earlier in your bill, communication, that was there a breakdown of communication?
It definitely was, for everybody.
Right. And even in any relationship, interesting enough, I did a good bill with Sister Akabul on mine on our good brother sa.neter's platform on communication, how vital that is for all things to move forward. And how you communicate, that kind of sets a trajectory as to where your relationship is going to go.
That's right.
So if you're a ride or die for me, you the person I can rely on, you got my back when nobody else does, and I get to a situation where I'm not even giving you basic intel about something that you put blood, you were blackballed on things you may not ever be able to recover, possibly based on what they're doing to you, because they saw how strong you stood. So you pay the prices nowhere near his, because he was the ultimate, but you paid a high price. So to be to the point where you're not communicating
information and say, hey, this is finished, this is what we doing, this is the next steps, these are, that's all I think should have happened. I think when that broke down for everybody, at that point it was scurry. Everybody's figuring out, well, and in my view is Jay, like, well, the movement, that the action still needs to happen. Like the NFL still needs to hold accountable. They still got to make some change, because what happened to him can't just happen. They can't just pay him off and just say, okay, we just gonna go back to doing business as usual. Something got to change.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's my perspective.
Exactly.
People have different perspective. People feel like they should have did this and that, but I don't know.
But would you agree that if you participate and fight a revolution and you deem yourself successful in that revolution, should not your conditions of the people be a little better? Vis-a-vis, I mean, let's look at South Africa for a moment. The movement against Sun City, with the artists saying, I'm not going to play Sun City because apartheid, and eventually there was a tsunami of things going against. So they did flip it. Apartheid ended, but you go there today, the shanty towns are without sanitation. There is a situation of crime that is overrunning most of those places. The choice land is still held by the white minority. De Beers still got the diamonds on lock. So, but there's about 500 families, black families in South Africa that really got bags for their participation. So at what point does your pursuit in business and other things in while you're fighting a revolution a sellout when your people are still in hell?
So the bottom line for me is then what are we fighting for?
Exactly.
Because the bottom line is that's if you look at even our greatest civil rights leaders we praise, that was the outcome of most of them. They fought, and we still haven't got what we are. 500 or 600 people probably benefited from those things. So the reality of the situation is we're fighting to get one step closer every day. And if based on the mentality that we have, it's all or nothing. And that can't work because we don't have the level of unity or understanding of what it's going to take. Our enemy is far more advanced in destroying us than we are in building us. They've done it way longer. So the reality is we have to understand what our enemy is doing. We have to understand that we got to slowly take back our reality. Slowly take back our reality. We're not running in there because we're not unified enough and we haven't shown enough power enough. Not say we don't have a power, we haven't utilized our power unified and collectively enough to just take over and do this all by ourselves. We just haven't done it. We still, most of us are indoctrinated into this way of living. Most of us don't even identify our reality, identify what it is we're fighting against. So to think that we just gonna wake up today and just go get our own, it's not realistic. You know what I'm saying? It has to be a process. It's got to be like, I'm gonna get this store over here, and they be like, damn, you got a store? Well, I could get me a store now. Oh, you got one? I could get it. We're not gonna all just wake up and say, yo, we all going to buy a store today. It just ain't gonna happen. And that's just reality. You know what I'm saying? Based on just human nature and understanding the reality of what we're dealing with, you understand that drastic overhaul is not going to happen that way. So it's going to be piece by piece. It's going to be us slowly getting into things, slowly people who have good intent, not just getting in there saying, yo, I'm trying to get it back. No, slowly trying to get us in there to where we get ownership. If you look at this year, a lot of people have been intentional, and Jay-Z's been one of them. Diddy, like a lot of these artists and millionaires have been intentional about talking about intergenerational wealth, about us building our own and passing it on and building legacy and continue to pass on, because that's the only way that we're going to get any power. It just ain't me getting some money and moving forward. No, it's building it. So that's what we got to be conscious of, man.
And of course, and I know others are here to be in your company and enjoy. Oh, first of all, this brother has his whole park laid out. He does this every year for the community. Again, there's some folks who pay lip service to this stuff, and there's other folks put boots on the ground, they dig up in their pocket, and they come out. He's feeding the community. He had music we cut out for the moment so it didn't compete with the interview. They got athletics in back. We got folks out here of all ages. So again, this is activism on the move. Just to give the date, and also this shirt, this is one of the flyest shirts. This shirt helps support this event and other events he's doing. For those who know, because we did a live earlier, if you're in the area, we're right up near you. This is the Bronx, guys. Several bridges from Manhattan will get you right here. How can we continue to support this annual event? Or what are some of the other things you have coming up so we can get behind you, good brother?
I mean, I do this every year, usually the second weekend, Saturday, August, but I couldn't do it this time because I was out of town. But, it's anything you could do to support my movement. We started an organization called Until Freedom. Me, my brother Angelo, Tamika Mallory, Linda Sarsour, in which we're going to just galvanize people of black and brown people in all communities just building our own base for whatever it is that we want to do, that we mobilize, that we build our own voting base. We're not democratic, we not whatever it is that represents, you know, what it is that we feel is going on in our communities and is going to positively impact us. We want to get behind that. We want to be able to mobilize hundreds of thousands and millions of people to get behind whatever it is that positively is going to help us evolve and move to our rightful space. So you can support that organization. I'm currently not really working on anything in particular, you know, but I'm always doing speaking events all over. Tomorrow I'll be driving down to Virginia for the 400 years of slavery commemoration over there. Tuesday I'll be supporting Meek Mill in Philly as he goes to try to get his case overturned. So I'm just constantly doing the work, man.
So as an activist, what keeps the wind in your sails? What keeps you strapping them beats on in the morning and getting out here on the front line for your people that in many instances sometimes aren't the most appreciative if you gauge their behavior towards you? What keeps you inspired?
I have a saying that I say, I'm gonna love you despite of you. You know, and that's just how I feel. Like a lot of us, we just don't know, and you know, and we've been indoctrinated into a way of thinking that death is not conducive to our survival or evolution. But I know better than that, so I continue to fight even if you don't even understand that you need to be fought for. And I also have babies, man. I got a 5 and 7 and a 21-year-old son that I just can't leave here with nothing. I just can't leave here. I can't leave this place in the same conditions that I found it.
As a new dad for 1 year, yes, we do it for the babies. sa.neter always has a question or two. sa.neter just wanted to give you a chance to give our good brother Mysonne.
Peace, my brother. Good to see you again, of course, man. What message would you have for the young people out here today where they think as far as going to prison is a badge of honor? You know, because they come out and they brag about that so hard. Like, yeah, man, I've been there, man. I was holding it down. I was in prison. What message would you have for the youth? For them that, yo, this is not no game. This is not a joke. People lose their lives up in there. What message would you have for the youth out there?
I would say, man, you know, prison, everybody I know that's in prison is trying to get out, you know, and it's for suckers. And when it's nothing in there, there's nothingness. It's some people that's comfortable, or some people that praying every day to get out of there. You know, it's the worst place I've ever been in my life, you know, and it's nothing to glorify, man. The only thing you can glorify about prison is that you survived, and if you made it out, you know, there's nothing to glorify. It's a false narrative. It's a false sense of reality. You know, stay home, be a father to your children, be a brother to your sister, be a son to your mother. Those are things that's real. That's what the badge of honor is. The badge of honor is when you out here and you're able to take care of your family. People always say, oh, I went to jail because I was trying to take care of my kids. But while you in jail, who taking care of them? You know, so that mentality is flawed. You know, you cannot do anything for your children when you are not in society, when you're in prison. So you sacrifice trying to get something for 2 years where that you could have got something for 20 years, you know? How you doing today?
Peace, King.
Peace, King.
Peace.
So what do you think about hip-hop? Do you think the best of hip-hop is dead now? Like Nas came out with his song before, hip-hop is dead. Do you think hip-hop will ever come back to the original text where we waking up our people?
I think everything has a full circle. You know, I think consciousness is slowly reaping back into our society. I think people are a lot more woke than they are asleep. You know, and I think they slowly gonna get back to it. You know, I think after anything, I think we done partied and we done mumbled and we done did that enough. You know, I think people's minds want something else. So, you know, I think eventually it's gonna make a full turn.
Okay, and maybe if you can help us with something, because many folks are speaking about the culture, defending the culture, representing the culture. If in a capsulated form, for those, the youngins that's coming in that might be in the middle of it and not understanding it, what is a clear representation of what this culture is that is so vital to our upliftment? Because we know what the artists do with what's happening, Marvin Gaye, with what they can do with their art. But what is it we're trying to build and defend?
I think when they speak of the culture, it's a lifestyle, it's an understanding, it's the struggle, it's talking about and amplifying the process of building. Is the process of coming from nothing or coming from marginalized communities, and when you are supposed to fail and feeling like that's the energy. When you do it for the culture, you are energizing and fueling people in communities who otherwise probably wouldn't get any energy, because they see you. They see you knowing that you come from the same, upbringings that they come from the same, beginnings, humble beginnings that they come from, and they see you elevate and they see you continuing to fight. So that's when they say for the culture, that's what it is. It's I want you to know that you can do it, because even if I didn't do it, I'm still trying to do it. And I want to give you that energy to continue to move forward. So when I say for the culture, it's energizing, it's fueling our fighters, it's fueling that energy inside of you to help you continue to move on despite of what your situation is.
Yes, and we only have a few more questions, good brother, because culture, folks don't realize how vital. When China began its march towards its power base right now, Mao's Red Book, a big segment was the Cultural Revolution. And with that in mind, just to give you an opportunity from your perch, from what you see, there's so much speech about the culture, protecting it, defending it. Are you in it? Are you out of it? What are the things we are doing? Because we know with Mao and his great turning around of the Chinese people and building them towards the world power base that they have right now, he used the Red Book segment that was the Cultural Revolution. How do we get on a similar track where our culture is firmly serving us and moving us towards a power base that we can be nationally and internationally proud of?
I think what we have to do is we have to feed it. We know what it is that takes. A lot of us as elders, when we're 30 plus years old, you understand you've experienced a lot, and these kids need guidance, and that's what I try to do with my music. I try to speak the language they speak, but not, I try to teach you within your ignorance, because I understand that it was ignorance. My teaching style and my communication style is when I deal with kids, I don't speak to them from my current mind state. I speak to a child the way that I needed somebody to speak to me at that time to get through to me. Because a lot of time we speak to children like they should already know. We speak to them as if we were never their age and we didn't get it at some time. So you got to sit there and break it down to yourself and say, what would it have taken for me, my 15-year-old self, to understand the seriousness of this situation right now? How would you have, not just the words you have to use, how would you have to dress? How would you have to communicate? How would your whole everything have to be to make me feel that it made enough sense for me to talk to somebody that I felt was way older than me and wasn't identifying with the same cultural things that I'm dealing with right now when they were their age. So we know that we know that nothing has changed. We know that it's just it's just changed with time, but the names have changed, but it's still the exact same situations. So since we know that, we have to figure out creative ways to communicate that to these children, to where they don't feel like you don't identify with them, you're talking at them, you belittling them, and that's how we got to communicate. That's the way we're going to push our culture forward. Is the youth, like Common said, it's the wisdom of the elders and the energy of the youth.
I share. And among the last questions, good brother, as an activist on the front line, and I would consider you a tactician, a strategist as to how we get this done. There is an uproar and a movement percolating right now in Detroit. There are things being placed that they are saying they want to shut down the city. Tactically, from a civil disobedience perspective, how far is it within the people's rights, even constitutionally, to push that envelope when you're addressing a government, a system that you feel have become tyrannical?
I mean, it's like Dr. King said, unjust law is no law at all. So if we understand that, then it's your God-given right. It has nothing to do with a law that's not fit for the people. I say all the time, when a government no longer fits the people, then the government is wrong. It's not the people. The government is supposed to govern the people based on rules that they feel are proper to govern them. So when you have rules that that the people are saying, all the people are saying it don't fit them, then you're wrong. So you have every right to overrule that and get that government out of place. You know, when the government no longer fits the people, then it's not fit to lead.
Right. The yellow vests are in France, engaging physically in Hong Kong right now. They're laying on airports. Does that fire in the belly exist here? If push comes to shove, and we got to really get skin in the game, and it ain't just walking around in circles with a sign. Are we ready to possibly engage? No. How can we get there?
We have to be very intentional, man. You know, we are what do I say? We are focused on the wrong things. You know,
maybe the bag.
You know, the bag, it's not just the bag, because if we was focusing on a bag with something to do with the bag, it would be different. If we was focusing on a bag, so okay, we're gonna make sure that all of our people are good, and that we strategizing, and we training our kids for war, like, and we making sure that we building homes and shelters, and we stacking up food just in case. Like, if we were taking that bag to do something with it, then it would be different. You know, we're focused on you know, material. We're focusing on looking like we have something. We're focusing on somebody else's, you know, interpretation of us, or how they see us and how they view us, instead of us making sure that everyone around us is secure and everybody that's around them is secure, and that we all good. We have the wrong. When you look at China and the culturally, the way that they move, they have a system that is set up for everyone there to be good. They want everyone to be intelligent. You know, when you come and you get money, you give back to society. You know, when Yao Ming was here, a lot of his money was going back to China that he was making an MBA. Like, we don't have that mentality. And especially as black people, we don't even have nowhere to send it back to. You know, we haven't identified our own anything. So we're not prepared. We're not prepared at all. You know, but we have to get prepared.
Yes, we do. And this, in closing, I don't know if you know, recently, you're probably very familiar with the work of, some say the Koch brothers is pronounced K-O-C-H, some pronounce it Koch, multi-billionaires, philanthropists. Many say they are the reasons for the insurgence of the right-wing movement with the different things they've seeded with their money. One of those brothers died recently. So there's a little bit of a vacuum. Do we have anything on this side? When I say this side, I'm assuming the left. I haven't fully asked your politics. Are you a Pan-Africanist? Are you a socialist? I know you're an activist. What is the system that is going to best suit us moving forward? Because we all talked about the collective, like you said, together. What's the system?
I don't know what the system is. I can't tell you. I think it's a thought process rather than a system. You know, I think it's people who share a like mind. You know, I think systems constrict you to this or that. I think when you have a mind state and you share people of like minds, if you put 3 Christians and 3 Muslims of like mind, they can move the world. But based on their religions and their systems, they don't move at the same pace. So I always seen systems as things that hindered our growth instead of, you know, pushed it forward. I identify myself as a person of good moral conscience. And I think if you put a bunch of people of good moral conscience in any room, then you'll get change and you'll get evolution.
Wow, couldn't have been a better point to close on. Just, we're going to hit again, brother, what you got coming out. I know you said Virginia. Hit us with what your schedule's going to be. If you got any cash apps, how can we get behind you and brothers support you?
Well, once again, I'll be out in Virginia tomorrow for the 400 years of slavery. Tuesday, I'll be supporting Meek Mills in Philly. My cash app is $Mysonne, NYG, capital NYG. And you know, if you support, you know, but I'ma still do the work regardless.
Exactly.
You know?
Facebook, Twitter.
My Facebook is Mysonne, Lenin, L-I-N-N-E-N. My Twitter is @Mysonne, and my Instagram is Mysonne NY General.
For a brother who's moved by you that might want to write something to you, is there an email that a brother said, brother, I need some insight from you?
My email is mysonnenygeneral@gmail.com. You can go to my Instagram page and everything is there.
It's my first time interviewing a brother, and as an interviewer, you know, you can't help but pick up people's energy when you. This is a sincere brother here. We good to have this. He's on our team. Let's try to hold these brothers down and create a whole bunch more. Sisters too. We need y'all, but we need these brothers. Respect.
Appreciate you.
Always, always.